I think everybody's here. And so first we got the minutes. April 25th. Anybody have any inputs or comments? Hearing none, then I see it's approved by consensus. And next is public comment. Anyone? Anyone?
No one is here.
None? Next is the agenda and item A.
Yeah.
Comparable Cities Collection. Lauren is out today, so an update.
She was going to be here and I said, no, she is really sick. And I said, she wasn't gonna be in the room, but she was gonna join virtually. And I said, no, she was just giving us a brief update, which,
No, we can move.
our chair can.
Yeah.
Provide the details.
Yeah, so they're about 75% way through the data collection. They haven't done the, review validation piece next. But we'll have something on May 23rd to digest as a group.
Okay, because on the 30th is when we mentioned that we were gonna do the final review of that.
No,
Or we
30th.
wanted, oh no, the 30th is the meeting that's canceled.
Yeah,
That's right. On the 23rd is when we want to review the data. Okay.
yeah, that's our date we were focused on.
I think I
Yeah.
referred to it as like first review, because you'll wanna,
Begin
Do
reviewing the data.
Yeah,
That sounds
we
good.
may have questions to get further information or something. Who knows? Right? So,
So the 23rd is our first
data-driven.
complete review of
right.
Okay.
the package.
There's no telling what Lauren might send us a little preview or something before then, because that's what, a couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, she's gonna
Yeah.
check in with me, by the 12th. And then, we're hopeful to include some information in the packet if we can. If not, we'll have a good display of information for the 23rd. It's a quick
Alright.
turnaround for these meetings, so.
A week goes by.
Yes.
Week went by fast.
Yes. So expenditures, there was a link to the policy, so you could see what the general rules are, which pretty much follow the rules for employees of the city as well.
And I use those kind of to, the table and the survey we'll review later
Right.
for the expenditures,
Yeah.
go by those amounts.
Yeah.
Less than 250, 500, over 500, or
That's the
whatever.
rules of it as well, right?
Right.
So,
And those rules have been around for some time, so the thresholds, could need some adjustment going up internally.
2008, yeah.
And the other thing I would say about that is I have some data, just small data. To give you a sense, let me go to my notes section here. So if you include the stipend amounts and then things like travel, hotel, registration, in 2022, I could estimate that plus, in addition to that, there would be, like meeting meals. So if they show up and have a working meeting with the mayor or our administrator, they put out their credit card, the mayor, the administrator picks it up, and then we code it out so that, we tax appropriately to the folks. So in 2022, the total that was probably paid out was about 10,000. And most of that's going, direct payment to the hotel or direct payment to registration. Very small portion was actually a reimbursement per se,
Okay, so 10,000 total for
Also,
all the council, all 7 council members?
including the stipend for the internet. And then in 2023, I would say to date, it's about $3,500, and that includes stipend as well.
okay,
So there's very little that, I would say, how we function today is a little bit easier with payments because we can
Pay directly.
We can pay the hotels directly, or we can put the city card on file so that they're not encumbered,
There's no crossover.
right?
And then the office and operating supplies presumably to majority of business supply, any kind of actual office supplies, the city buys this directly.
They haven't, to my knowledge, haven't stopped in
Used.
for pens or paper, that sort of thing. But reasonable office supplies could be available to them if on request.
There used to be, they were very paper focused, but I don't think,
There's anything.
you hand them a binder and they're like, really. At least that's why I was, I think they're all pretty much just going online nowadays.
So not much of an operating expenditure, really, is what it is.
Just hardware, which is part of the IT budget.
They don't have an office, right? They have-
No. Yeah,
No, no office, no staff, they're their own thing, each one's their own entity. So. Okay.
Okay.
That's-
So we're pretty much on track to have the same expenses this year then. If year to date, we're almost through into the second quarter,
Yeah,
we're into the second quarter.
yeah, there might be a little bit more travel this year, depending on the conference availability, just with just the health.
Because COVID, we didn't do
Yeah.
much of that.
there's
Okay.
zero, yeah.
They started to do some last year, but there might be more. A
This
few more
type-
conferences.
The stipend is just the internet?
The
or-
stipend is just internet. We had more participants last year and fewer this year. I think we had 4 last year and only 2 this year.
If they have decent data at their house from the provider and the laptops we give them, they don't need internet service. They just use a laptop. So the laptops are issued as optional to have cellular data chip in them.
Oh, and then that's
So that's the
provided.
easiest way, most secure way.
Mhm.
Like T-Staff prefers that, and have to worry about them being on some random Wi-Fi in a coffee shop and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And
So,
it might be covered by their home business, like as a write-off, so they wouldn't be seeking double.
Mm.
or I think they're issued cell phones.
Yes,
Yes.
half
could
our
be-
iPhones and half our,
Mobile
Yeah.
hotspot.
what do you call them?
So they're issued
Android?
cell phones from the city?
Yes.
Yes.
And that
So,
has to do with data, Tina's former world, still kind of her world. So,
Communication, yeah.
communication discovery, so the state law is about open meetings and any type of, communication concerning policy or the business of the council
Mhm.
has to be captured.
so if a citizen calls a number on the website,
It's not so much the phone calls, the text. There's been lawsuit and
Yeah.
not with our city, but precedent set in the state
Mhm.
where if they were furiously texting about a decision that was coming out and there was 4 people on there, that's an ex parte type communication on the
Yeah.
group.
right?
Because texts aren't secure
And so-
and they're not
This-
guaranteed to.
So anytime a citizen can demand, I want to see all the texts between this council person, the mayor, whatever, or some of the senior department heads.
So we took away their $20 stipend a month if they chose to participate in that, and we gave them a city phone.
Mhm.
And, if you call the number that's associated with their photo, from the website, you call them directly
On that
To
phone.
that phone.
to that
To
phone.
the city phone.
Any text messages and then you have these are capturing all those in their archive. So if there is a request, a discovery, from a legal discovery point, it's very straightforward, as it was not before. And there's neighbors to the north who found a way to show the wrong way to do everything. Smash. They got into big trouble for that over a major land use decision.
Okay.
Really?
Quite a bit of a lawsuit, yeah.
That
That's
they
the state
texted
law.
on a private phone?
Yes. And then they had to have all the private texts dug through.
Oh,
And then, these guys can go on a fishing expedition and find other stuff that ends up in a different court case.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you've got to protect yourself if you're an elected official.
Wow.
So it was an easy sell. Here, take these phones.
is that
Some people
about
don't
that?
like carrying 2 phones, but when it comes down to that kind of thing, you're like, I guess I'll take 2 phones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Worst
Wow.
inconveniences in memory.
How does it work with iPhone and iMessage and whatnot? And like, those don't go through the,
So there are apps you can buy, which the city did, that will capture the iMessage traffic, it does a local screen. And then transmits that up to a centralized server,
God. Okay, that makes sense.
because there's no other way, once it's in transit,
Yeah.
there's no way to get into it.
Yeah.
And I mean, then you have a controlled device, so they can't load other apps,
Can't put
can't put
encrypted,
Signal on there or any of those, they can't.
Exactly.
WhatsApp or something.
Yeah.
that's encrypted.
Exactly, just to keep everybody
that
out of
out.
trouble.
Good to know.
All right.
Okay,
Great.
that's expenses,
Mhm.
which there's always more. So next, the survey, it says.
Mhm.
And, I hope you guys have a chance to look at the screenshots.
That was simply provided for visual purposes. It was just.
Yeah, I think
grab
that
and go.
Victor's been working on excellent, mock-up.
Mhm.
On,
What-
Google Docs.
Yeah, what we could do is, somebody who has the ability to share can go through can you go through
Where did we end up on, like, question?
I think we should just go through it one at a
Exactly.
time.
Oh,
And
okay.
just mock up and make notes. You can actually do live edits.
Do some of the questions.
exactly, that's the thing. So if we go, if you share and we all go through and answer it together,
Okay.
like section by section,
Mhm.
finalize everything. I can make live edits and as Tina hits refresh, it'll be there. We finalize it and then I'll share well, you already have the link, but
Mhm.
I'll share the link with Tina. Tina can send it to everybody and we can,
I can share.
everybody can do it tomorrow.
Sure.
Or John can share and we can, tomorrow, everybody can answer the survey. Because it also has a nifty, feature to like, look at the responses and like, to provide charts and all sorts of stuff that we can review as well.
Is that under your account?
Yes, it's on a file that I can actually add, if you have like a Google account, I can add you, Tina, whoever.
So it's just, my name, but it's a P, so it's John P. Trader.
At Gmail.
Were you suggesting that we fill out the forms?
Well, just for testing purposes,
testing.
like I filled it out, like pretend I'm a council member, and so I did it, made up some answers, and so it'd be good to see what that looks like. Okay, so
Okay.
here's the survey, it says,
So just so I understand, the city survey program didn't work and Victor, you used your magic?
yeah, he could put this together relatively quickly, just using the Google Doc, so it was a good way to just take a look at how we want to do different stuff. There's still a question whether we can use that with council members, because they don't all have Gmail accounts. And so.
No, wait, I actually disabled that, so anyone without having to log into Gmail
Ah,
can answer this.
there you go,
So if you try to,
that's good.
Okay.
that was one of the things that I fixed from the
Oh, yeah.
survey.
Did you test it? I have 2 laptops now, and one of them is on my Gmail and the other one is not, so.
I just opened an incognito window and went to the thing and it, like, you can answer
I didn't
everything.
think of that, because
Okay.
I looked at it just this evening or afternoon.
That sounds.
Yeah,
It just
so-
grabbed my Gmails because it saw I already had it. But-
Exactly. No, but if you go in an incognito window, you're logged out of everywhere. And
Oh, right.
you use that link.
Mhm.
I actually used a shortening service I use, and then it's
Mhm.
VicB, as my name, vicb.us/salary survey. And then that'll take you to this survey. And, I guess once we're done,
Yeah.
editing live here, we can fix, everybody
So
can
Do me
try
a
that.
favor and send that shortened link to Tina.
Tina has it. It's on the email.
Short
You have it
version?
too.
Okay,
Yeah, that here link, if you just right click and say copy URL, that's that link, but I can still.
Well, I just sent one out.
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
guy's
Tina, I've received it from Tina now.
shortening link things, the
It-
city
it-
blocks in the
Yeah.
firewall.
It'll block if I try to use the short one, but I think I took the long one and just sent it out to everybody.
Yeah, because the long one is the one that has all the information to default the grids to the none. option, right?
Mhm.
So if you just share without all that, query string mess in there, it won't be defaulted, and then they'll have to like select none 17 million times. Because I know it looks annoying, but, I mean, it's actually gives us good data. So
Okay,
are we good to go over?
Yeah, so, moving right along, so you just pick one, who are you? And then you go down,
Mm-hmm. What prompted you to initially, as we discussed, run for city council, the text answer, then the follow-up that Henry,
Yeah.
requested, which I had missed on the first run. Now we have it back, which is great. And I added a comment optional in case they said, yes, they can give more information, right? So there's that.
should that say if you ran for an additional term?
If yes, please explain.
no,
Oh, there's a misspell there. It's if you ran.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you ran
My
for an
bad.
additional
consider
term.
have run.
I think I had fun
I
when I
think
sent it
so.
to you.
And I said, oh, she missed the R. I was like, I automatically just said run.
How much fun did you have in your additional term?
But maybe comment should be, if yes, please describe or please explain.
Comment below.
Well, they want to comment why they haven't changed their, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
So we, like, it's only if yes, I like it. I let them comment whatever.
Okay, I mean, there
That's
might
gonna
be
be,
commenting on
that's,
something
yeah,
that might
that'll
say
be,
it's
that'll
wrong.
be what's called, just like,
random?
Can we, Victor, on where they say yes, can we put in parentheses after the word yes, explain below?
yeah, we can.
yeah, the option.
You should be able to do a constraint, a conditional formatting for that. I think I looked it up. They call it something different. in Google
Yeah,
Docs.
but you have to, like, it takes you to a different section. It's, so it like I mean, which is okay,
It's
but
easier to do in MS Forms, I think.
yeah.
But
But MS Form doesn't do the grid, which is why I ended up with this one. So let's see. Okay, so if you hit refresh now, you'll see the misspelled
Uh-huh.
thing solved, and then when you choose, explain below, and then comment option. Is that what you're looking for, Henry?
Yes, yes. Perfect. Although I think the typo is just if you ran, not if you have ran.
Yeah,
Eliminate
if
it.
you ran, that you have or had,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Just to be-
If you ran for an additional term,
Mhm.
have your reasons changed?
Yes.
All right, fixed. You can
Yeah.
hit refresh.
Thank you.
okay.
All right, then comment optional, and that finishes that section. Then the next section is the meeting time, which, and I like copied exactly what was there on the document that you merged. So this section will help the commission understand how much time you work on behalf of the city council and the city of Issaquah. Please provide your best estimate and base your answers on the average number of hours per month. I know we had a discussion. I had suggested a week. I put it back to month because I think that's where we landed.
Yeah.
For the following section, do not include time related specifically to the additional requirements of the council president or deputy council president positions.
I think the per month there may need to be a little more clear, because when I was going through,
We could add it here.
yeah, I think if you just have in the
Per month.
question, time spent
That's
per month.
estimate.
Time spent monthly.
Time
Monthly,
spent monthly.
yeah, just make
And
it
maybe
in each question, just to be, because there was somewhere say, oh, in each meeting, I think that's what it is, whenever I say in each meeting, it sounds like maybe it was,
People
pressure.
don't always read
Right.
instructions,
Yeah.
so it's good
We
to
need time.
repeat where you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Best.
Maybe it might be more clear where it says meeting time, just put monthly meeting time.
Yeah.
That way it's at the start.
That would work.
Oh, okay, so instead of saying time spent monthly in each meeting, I just say monthly meeting time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, let me make that change, monthly, And then the section below for the preparation time, I should add the same word then.
Yes.
Okay,
But before you move on, Victor, there's just one more typo in the last sentence above that. It should be using an average month, not and average month.
Average month, yeah,
Right.
using and just AN,
I'm lost where?
right there.
Above.
Oh, right. Did I delete that section? That section disappeared from me. Oh, it's,
It's in a
I
text
moved it.
box above
It moved it, but I'll try it.
And it's easier to do the
Using-
check the box, check
Yeah,
the column there
using
rather than
an average month.
entering the number.
Sorry?
Like, could it just put in, ask him to enter the number, let's say, instead of saying one.
Yeah, no,
or
we,
just
that,
put
yeah.
3 or 10, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so what we talked about last time is that this could provide us with more detailed data because it allows them to think through each of like the meetings. And we said, we can have this, or we can have a text box per. If we have a text box per, that'll like break out the grid into a question like each. There's no way to have a grid with the text boxes in there.
I see. Alright.
But that we have discussed though, I made those edits, you can hit refresh if you want, it's
Yeah, asterisks for it.
I would,
required.
and I would
Oh.
suggest that the meeting time, monthly meeting time be not required so that they don't have to fill out the nuns and the wherever.
Right, so the link that we share will have pre-selected every none in the survey everywhere. So if they don't want to change the value, it'll be none. It'll be defaulted to none. Does that make sense?
It didn't come like that to me when. I
Yeah, me
wrote it.
neither.
Is that an iPhone?
Right, wait a second.
No clear form, start over. Um, 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 Next. Average month, monthly meeting time.
Real quick.
And is it possible that there are some categories here that they're just gonna be like, oh, I spent 25 hours per month,
Yeah.
and then it's like.
Yeah, no, that's a conversation that we
Conversation we were having.
and we're gonna, I think it's continue now into what do we want to be the last run? Do we wanna add another one that says 5 to 10 or 20? Where do we get to in there?
I did find scrolling down through the list and you lose the top bar, the header
Oh,
of the hours that I was like, is this 3 hours? Is this 5 hours? What line am I in again?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to scroll.
Because the list was so long.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Well, there's no way to fix that
Well, it
unless
could
you were
be if you.
live, right? Is this gonna be, they're gonna answer it online, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
then I
like-
guess we could
Just
fix
like
it.
this. It's the 200 level question. How do we make that sticky?
yeah, I gotta, that's a doozy. I'll think about that one.
Doozy. I've heard that word like that.
But for the
Or
5
maybe
hours
a-
or more, one idea I had was, there are a couple we know potentially could be that big,
Mhm.
like just city council meetings or prep for city council. But the rest of them generally
Yeah.
not. So you might have a separate small grid
Just for city.
for the big buckets, and then you could have bigger numbers, like 3 hours is the bottom number, and then it's like
Right.
8 hours, and then it's like 20 hours or something.
Yeah.
like that.
Because you wouldn't start city council off with none. It
Right.
could be its own
So maybe
table
just-
and then everything else.
Right,
Maybe city council just open text to enter, you know.
Or you could do it that way,
Right,
yeah,
and then,
put a number in there.
and then everything else is going.
Just have a number required field, so they just put in a number.
Right.
Because the thing is that it's seasonal as well, you know, so it's sort of your average month, because
Mhm.
during budget season, it's, 4 meetings every month. And they can be 4 or 5 hours each. If there's a lot of questions and if there's budgetary problems, like, a recession or something.
Mhm.
Or it can be, you can glide through and everybody's read it and they're all happy, but the prep time is still gonna be 4 or 5 hours just for like that month. I still got regular business. So, but then like in August, they don't even meet they meet like once, I think. So it's kind of, up and down.
It does scroll sideways though and leaves it, if you do it on your phone,
But not when you go down. See,
You lose,
this way,
right,
at least that goes that way.
but you lose the
Right.
columns, like what?
I lose the columns, but I'm able to,
Yeah,
if I'm over here to the +5,
right.
I still get the section.
Since we're talking about the magnitude of city council, we probably want to say city council regular and Cal. Because they can report monthly on both as a total for that. Otherwise, they may just limit it to city council, special and regular, and we have Cal meetings that are in there. And I don't want a separate line for Cal, because it's
then
part of.
and
what
say,
they tend-
just say, city council includes Cal. Don't know what that means. City council, regular and Cal meetings, or something like that, maybe?
I mean, we can add something to the,
Yeah, don't know what that means, you can
Okay.
kind of short. So what she's saying is that a city council meeting, there's like really 3 flavors of the whole group. There's
Council of the
what they
whole.
call a regular council meeting, which is an official business meeting. And there's a committee of the whole where no business is conducted, but it's informational. And then there's special meetings, which can happen because of a special event, like, I don't know, a big rainfall event, create some flooding, or
The holiday, the
holiday,
meeting moved, or there's a retreat.
or there's labor negotiation they have to deal with.
Yeah.
There's a variety of reasons why they have those, but they're not on a regular cycle, so it's state law, you have to have this regular rhythm of regular business meetings. It's all, like in our case, it's always on Mondays,
Mhm.
at least twice a month, generally, so.
Yeah, so if you pull out city council and ask it as an open, explain what it is, and then your, the remainder of these would work in your table format. You just need to decide if you want to adjust your times at all or add more.
okay,
What I was thinking is it might be useful because of the 5 hours or more column, even with the change you just described, Tina, just to give them a space at the end to put in a total number. So they've looked at all these different committees and thought about all them.
It wouldn't fit on the table though in any form that we're doing. So the question is, where do you ask that?
Right,
And-
yeah, not in the table form, but just right after the table.
yeah, but then you're asking them to like select a bunch of stuff and then do a bunch of math.
Or
Maybe they already know, like, it's possible that they might know the total per month more than actually each one, right? Might be something that, I know, for instance, if you ever had to do a work, timesheets, you start like, I know how much I worked all that week, but then, if you had to split later, it's a little harder to know, I spend time here versus there, and I know I was overall. In a question, do we think that the breakdown is gonna be relevant information for us, or is it just the total that we think is gonna be more?
Both.
Yes, I'll tell you why I think the breakdown may be more beneficial, because depending on who's assigned to which, like regional committees and all that stuff, they're gonna spend, some council members are gonna spend more time in some meetings, some others in other meetings. Then you add it up across the line and you average it out and you say, oh, look, the council spends X amount in average for this meeting. You total that up, when we get the total, say, all right, we have the total number of hours average for the whole council spent in business. And then you come up with some sort of the rest of the data, some formula, and say,
And it may uncover something we weren't expecting too.
right,
Yeah, and I think part of the reason, Victor, that you gave for including this last week was it'll help them think through so that the total is more accurate.
Right,
Makes sense.
because if you ask a single one to say like, how much time do you spend in all the meetings? Like, they're gonna go, oh, well, in city council, I spend on this, and then maybe they are not thinking about the special meetings that sometimes they have once or twice a month, or, oh, I remember, like, I go to the East Fire thing too, and like, this
makes
gives them that visibility so that they can like, oh, wait, yeah, I remember I go to this like once a month and it's a couple hours of my time.
And there's the optional soft stuff, which I think we got some good questions further down that kind of hit on that, like, if you're on salmon days, public.
Yes,
Right, it's not an official meeting, it's not even
Right.
scheduled, but you're part of it, and there are events. There's a lot of stuff that I got pulled into that are nonprofit fundraising events. You had to go, I didn't really be
yeah,
a player,
Yeah,
and you'd see all the other council members from other cities there and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you're expected to write a check, which my wife complained about often. So there's that expense, which is, can't really be compensated for, but
Right.
it's part of the gig, if you want to be successful. So it's kind of elusive in that respect. Because yes, those are optional, you don't ever have to donate money, you don't feel like donating.
right.
You don't
You know,
actually have to
you-
go to the dinner,
well, I know
Well, you do.
you never said no, but has anybody ever said, no, I'm not gonna go with status quo, I'm not writing a check? Just for the
when I first
principle of
was
it.
on council, we had an old timer, it wasn't gonna go to anything. And that was it, and everyone else has always kind of showed up at one level. Usually we would sit around and go, well,
Yeah.
I'll
who is-
go to the
yeah.
Greenway dinner, if you go to Forterra's dinner, and if you go, so it's kind of split it up, so you don't have to go to everything.
Mhm.
Because like in the fall,
Right.
there's gotta be 25 meetings in 3 weeks that are
Yeah.
just dinners.
That's a lot of dinners with full dessert,
It's a lot of cash.
booze, and,
But the spouse comment is accurate.
Yeah.
'Cause, Carl,
yeah,
Maripoli's, spouse will remind her, pick,
Pick one.
you picked too many.
Yeah, because the mayor's gotta be everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like on steroids, what the council deals with, so.
All right, so to bring us back here for a second, let's solve the time thing first. And then we can move on to, maybe we're gonna reduce the option, something, or, but and I'll see if I can solve the header problem with some web magic, but can't promise much.
well, you can't put the headers again on the bottom, I have seen that before. When the document couldn't scroll, but you saw the same headers kind of as footers.
Yeah, I don't know if this tool allows that.
Oh.
There's a scripting thing, but I'll see.
That'd be,
Now, for the columns or the times, right?
mhm.
5 hours or more may be too broad, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So do we wanna go up to 10 and 10 more, or?
Sounds like maybe this is only for the city council meetings, then it would be relevant, I don't know, but going on.
The city council, there's one.
They go to all these meetings.
Oh, by the way, I added it, after city council option, it says like in parentheses, regular, cow, and special.
Yeah, so that one
Now.
easily exceeds that, the rest probably not.
I mean, do we need the up to 1 hour spot? Are any of them gonna be 1 hour? Could we do up to 2 and then you'd have another column at the end to
That's a
say,
good point.
10
Maybe we start at,
Or six.
There's almost never, I mean, we set the record once, I think it was 25 minutes, because there was like, everything,
Yeah.
okay, we hear it, you have to be approved minutes, yeah, okay.
instead of using up to,
but that
or
was
less
one.
than, could you just use the little less than sign and put a 2 hours?
Usually
there you go.
usually it's maybe-
Victor,
Yes, ma'am.
could you make, instead of up to 1 hour, could you put the little less than sign with a 2 hours? And then
Yeah, under 2,
under 2? And then maybe under 4, under 6, and then 7 or more. Maybe that will broaden it a little bit to give you those big users. I mean, is it possible that they could spend more than 7 hours in a city council meeting to prep and?
It's
It's not
Yeah.
one, right, it's a
So-
month.
A month, yeah.
Oh, because they have weekly meetings.
They have bi-weekly
Bi-weekly
meetings
meetings.
and then they have a monthly meeting in there. And so there's potentially 3 or 4 meetings that month.
The whole-
Even if they did 1 hour, they're still gonna spend 4
Which is
hours.
why I
And they have
think,
a retreat this weekend.
Yeah.
which is why I think you should just lift council above it and then your time of 2, 4, 6 works perfectly for everything else.
So for C, can just let them enter
Have
the
council its
number.
own row, a different own matrix, if you will, like the larger buckets.
They can enter just the number.
Just-
And one for all of them, or you want, like, maybe separating the grid, regular cow special with the same large bucket?
That's, I don't know.
Like, what about no bucket and just let them enter the
Do
number?
we
I
need
just feel
that?
like I know that information.
No, yeah, but see, and again, I added this grid, I know we discussed this, but I added the meeting time grid just in case. But we did discuss that we already know the meeting time, we have all that information.
Yeah.
Let's keep this and do the preparation time, because that's where the meat of it is.
Yeah.
For a 5-hour meeting, they may spend 10 hours preparing for it. We don't know that data.
Yeah, it could be pre and post meeting.
So
If somebody comes out of there with an action item, they would then have
Right.
post time.
So if we axe this whole section and just go into preparation time and ask, for preparing for city council meetings, right? And here's the bigger buckets. And then for the rest, here's the, 1 hour, 2, 3, 5 or more.
Yeah, or you could simplify this to like 3 or 4 categories, like city council, which includes the whole
Mhm.
regular meetings, special. And the next one would be committees. And any committee that you're on, how much time do you spend with committees? Without being specific.
And they all feed the same bigger
Everybody
bucket?
has to have a committee. They usually get at least 2 assigned.
Okay.
Unless you're the president. That's the one reason to be the president. is You don't have any
No
committees.
committees.
So we have committees, boards,
It's a tough trade-off.
Yeah. And then you've got, then boards are outside, right? But it's like boards and what are they also, I think they're all called boards. There's like a one, but it's chamber of commerce.
Coalitions, committees.
So you can just say boards and coalitions. And outside committees. All
Just say
that.
so first, city council, regular cow special and special.
Mhm.
Second, committees. Third, boards and
How about regional, local, what do you call that?
The local agreements.
Well, I mean, chambers local. EFR is LTAC, but then you've got some,
Oh.
King County ones on here, so
Good question. You could do that. You could say local,
climate collaborate.
outside.
or you could call it council committees and then everything else.
That's where I was going.
Yeah,
Just the whole group together, the committees they have to do, and then everything else. And just for this, and then on the prep time, you can have the granularity we talked about, where it's, you really enumerating each committee, each outside entity they have to do, to see which ones
Okay.
involve prep time, because a lot of those outside ones, you just show up. They might send an email and you might read it, but it's not a huge amount of time.
So,
Compared to making a reasonable decision.
all right, so city council, committees, everything else.
All outside or,
what do we call it?
Official.
that's a column,
They are other appointed boards.
right?
So you have
Yes.
council committees, then you have other appointed boards.
Okay, I'm going to, and then we go back to
And then you have that other fluff question.
and this is gonna have the bigger buckets, which are, none. Now, less than 2 hours feels small, so
For that, yeah. Maybe do less.
less than 10, so we'll do multiples of 10. And is it,
Is it that big? Multiples of 10?
if they're spending 20 hours a week on this stuff,
Oh,
I mean, that's like
that's 80
80
hours.
in a good month, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's a lot.
it ebbs and flows.
Henry?
Some months are like that. I just wonder how you got through it. Another month, it's easy.
All right, so we can do less than 20, I'm sorry, less than 10,
Mm,
then we go less than 20 hours,
mhm.
then we go less
The wording is, you're in the last question.
than, so from 20, we wanna jump to 30, 40, 50, or do we wanna just go straight to like 50 and then 50 or more, or?
That's a good question. So when you think about outside commissions.
Would anybody admit to a 10? Are these anonymous surveys?
Yes,
No, I thought their names were gonna be.
not for the council president and deputy council president, I guess.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, it sort of is seeing the, when you get into, if you're doing the table version for prep.
We're gonna know who goes to which committee, and we're gonna
Mhm.
basically
So
figure
it's
it out. I mean, again, we want them to be truthful, we don't,
Yeah.
It's their impression, right? Like, nobody keeps a record. You're saying we check out, okay, today was 2 hours.
Right.
Nobody does that.
I bet Victor would though,
what?
keep track of your hours if you were a commissioner.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta have that data.
You know, I did that for about
Send
6
a daily
months.
spreadsheet
And
to
then I
Tina.
looked at what I was getting paid and said, I just get too
It's
depressed.
just not, yeah.
You're like, I wanna reduce the number of hours, it
Yeah.
takes me time to.
It's
a lot.
So I was used to tracking time. I'm just saying. It's just,
Yeah.
idea for
So it wasn't
myself.
worth it to you?
What's that?
It wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth my mental health.
That's why they.
Go ahead and refresh that, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
I'm
it
not
was-
to
it was
be a
rewarding.
commissioner.
I'm not
Be a
gonna
council
say it wasn't, but it was, it's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
So-
You gotta look at your plan, your calendar, and just live by every second, every day.
Mhm.
Okay, I got a half an hour to get to Bellevue.
Oh,
And you're trying to.
that is, it's a part-time, but it's really good too. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so 10, 20, 40, yeah, that looks good.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
thinking.
I agree, I like this, but I just want to raise the question of, are we, we're giving up a little precision in
In the
number?
meeting time only though, Henry, because
Right.
because again, we have the data, Tina has the data on the
Yeah.
time they spend on meetings already. So this is just like reassuring what we have. But for the other question, which is the preparation time, we're gonna leave the granularity and the smaller buckets as well.
So the first one,
That's 1, 2, 3, let's just say there were 3-hour meetings, 1, 2, 6, 9, it's like 10 hours. So
so hey,
that
you
must
need
be
to
20,
go,
40, 50 seems.
you introduce, there should be more
think
like
they're too big.
5, 20, and for 5, 10.
15, 20.
So go by 5 instead of 10, okay? Less than 5 hours.
Because like committees, you know, if you're a
Committees are 2
junior
hours.
council member, you get 2 committees. And they're usually an hour and a half.
Some of them are, I mean, they average out. If I look at the data, it averages out to about 2 hours per meeting, no matter what they
So
do.
it's like, that's it, 4 hours a month for committees. So you do need a smaller bucket for committees.
Well, they would just pick the less than 10 hours.
Sure, but less than 5.
I go for it.
I mean, given how
Mhm.
imprecise it is, I think it would be a good idea to ask just
Yeah.
a blank question, how many hours per week? Per month, sorry, per
Mhm.
month. Maybe even if it fluctuates and it is possible to assume that, oh, it's during budget time that they're gonna spend more time, then maybe even could have a question a typical month and then also in during budget approval months, or or in in the maximum how much, like to get that perspective too, if we want it, saying a typical month. And because it seems to me that when you put it like this, it's gonna be if you add it up, you're not gonna get an accurate math here because of that, right? It's like, from their assumption of 2, I chose a -10, what do you count on that? You know, it's just, you could end up with data that is not that relevant, I think, or not relevant, but not that.
We already know
informative.
the first two numbers, first two rows, because we know what committees are on and how long those meetings go. It's the third row we don't know.
Mhm.
Like, we don't know how long a Cascade Water Lines meeting typically goes.
Mhm.
Only the person who goes there knows that. So that one we'd be a little fuzzier on the numbers.
Right.
But I think this works, because again, it's the prep time that really points to how complicated they are, which also helps them think about how much effort is this particular committee or
Right.
appointment or whatever. If I have to do a lot of prep time, it's pretty involved.
We move through the form a little bit faster too, which I think is helpful, because you want them to focus on the other prep time, yeah.
Mhm.
So in this one, other appointed boards, just make that positions instead of boards, because that then covers all the weird names of different things that you, whether it's a commission or a board or
Right.
a chamber of council, whatever.
Other appointed positions, done.
Cool.
To answer your question, Joe, I mean, when we see less than 5, less than 10, less than 9, we pick, like, okay, let's say the top 4, 9, 14, 19, and then 20 or more, we say, okay, it's 20,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And use that to tally everything, right? It's gonna give us the closest, best guess we can
Mhm.
with, with getting the granularity we're looking for.
Right.
Are you looking at it on your phone there?
Huh?
Are you looking at it on your phone?
I'm on the last question.
What's the width like with hours spelled out instead of HRS or HR?
I have to go back.
Yes, I.
It might make the table feel a
To
little
test
bit
everything.
I have. Where are we at? Oh, right back here.
Here's, if you don't have to screen these right to left or to left.
Here's,
that's nice.
and here's another question that I didn't
Oh,
ask.
yeah, I definitely have to screen. On
Scroll.
council president time, oh. Where am I at now? One more, just a minute. I guess I was at the end.
Should we break it into those?
Yes. I have none, 5, 10, 15, and then
You
have to
move
scroll for
over.
20 and 20 hours or more.
And
So
how does the header look with the?
Right, so you have to-
This column's okay,
narrower, so you don't have to do
Yeah.
single side scrolling.
That's what I was
So we
saying
can
before.
say
See, this
5,
column seems
8.
quick
right,
when I
Yeah.
move back and forth.
Yeah.
and it's
They'll understand.
nice now because you only have 3 rows, but when you
Yeah.
have a long row, you're gonna end
Yeah,
up with
like this
something
one.
different. Unless they have a mouse over
Right,
that
Yeah.
tells you
there's more.
what button,
Mhm.
the display. They probably have something that's ADA compliant that
Oh,
would do that
there's
for
like-
you.
But it's
You
not
know?
like it's pages of questions either.
So read
I mean,
over.
just scroll back up, right? Because it's, the big long one is really only 2 thumb scrolls for technical.
So- And the
right?
last one, I'm
So
gonna
here,
say
I'm
20
doing
H
this,
plus.
and then I go up 1,
Yeah.
I know,
Right.
but
and then,
I'm just
And
saying
then at the top,
okay,
it felt,
or.
you want feedback, that's
Yeah,
how it
that's
felt to
it.
me.
okay.
I was just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monthly meeting time, best estimate of time spent in each meeting outlined below, comma, in hours.
Yeah.
So that,
Each meeting per month.
It's clear.
Okay.
That's just 15H or whatever.
Okay.
And then what they were talking about in the sidebar was if there's a mouse over on the radio buttons, of each one, it could be the column header. So if you're lost in the middle because there's no scrolling of the header,
Yeah, I'm
you
surprised.
could just mouse over, and go, yeah, this is the
Wow.
15 one.
oh man,
That seems like a
if we
great
could,
word.
if we
Let me see
could
if
do
it's a
that, that'd be
checkbox.
great.
Usually it's an ADA compliant thing they do,
Right.
so,
I'll Google it, for the Google forms.
okay, yeah, Google the Google Forms.
Yeah, I wonder if you don't have, if the phone allows that too.
They're usually, everybody's Chrome-ish in their browsers except
Yeah.
for Safari land. But it generally plays well with that stuff.
Now, the question I was gonna ask is, I used sections and it breaks it, as you're answering, it breaks it into pages. You go to one
Yeah.
page to another.
Mhm.
Do we want a long survey in a single, like, shot, all of the questions? So they can scroll up and down in
Mhm.
one shot? Or do we wanna keep them focused on, okay, tell us about yourself, answer those questions, then
Mhm.
time these questions, expenses this way, like,
I
Well,
think logically, the way you have a group is good.
I think that it separates in their mind, like, okay, I'm working on this section now, and like, as opposed to.
Now let's ask you about prep time.
Mhm.
Okay, and now let's ask you about.
but just in my experience, when I, was doing one page at a time, if I missed one, it didn't really tell me where I was missing one. So if I had all these things in one page, I'd have a hard time
It's a
finding
harder
which one I
time.
missed.
It does paint, it does like put a red border or something on it.
Well, there's like a little exclamation point down here,
Right.
but it doesn't, that's just telling me there's an issue. It doesn't tell me where the issue is.
It doesn't jump to it.
It won't jump
There
to
you
it.
go. So I think you have the latest, that last version.
Yeah, that little guy, I click, if I touch that little exclamation point on the bottom there, it doesn't do anything for me.
Oh, no, but that's just
Oh,
feedback
okay.
to Google
Oh,
about
yeah,
okay.
like their page.
So yeah, so if I miss something, it doesn't go, but then it doesn't
It
tell me
just
where it's
tells you
at.
you're missing. Yeah.
It won't let you past,
Well,
So what's it
yeah.
do?
The question.
Go ahead and try to
Yeah.
go to the next page.
So yeah, it's just, well, yeah, exactly.
so
Go
it
to the
won't let
bottom.
me,
Miss.
let's see.
Okay, and then just see what it does.
You know, you,
Should
You
say-
see how the question is in red, the border's all red? If you scroll up, every
Oh.
question that's missing data has that.
Oh,
missing.
okay.
It's still in the box.
Yeah, so
itself.
the-
So it
this
does look
question
like that.
requires one
Okay.
response per row,
Okay.
this
And then this
says the
one's
same thing,
red.
right? So, and that's why, for the ease of the, of the user,
Mhm.
we're gonna, the link that I'll provide to share with the council will
Yeah.
be pre-selected with all the,
Okay.
with all the nons everywhere. But yeah, so this is the second grid. The first grid, I think we finalized. The monthly meeting time grid. It has 3 questions, 3 rows, city council with regular, power and special. Second is committees, third is other appointed positions.
Mhm.
And the options are none, less than 5 hours, less than 10 hours, less than 15, 20, and then 20 hours plus.
Okay.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. Okay,
Use my phone. They do not have hover text, at least as far as 2019 goes, some other people were asking the same question.
yeah.
question,
Then I added a monthly word there. I'm gonna change the, at least the headers to be the same as we had before, where I'm gonna keep the same small buckets, but it's gonna be, as Linda suggested, less than 1H,
Yeah.
less than 3H, whatever. And then add the word comma in hours at the end.
Mhm.
So let me make those changes and then we can
Okay.
take a look. Less than 1 hour.
I'm talking, moving from, would there be value in extending part of this survey to previous city council members, you know, like some of the questions are about motivation to run and things like that.
Yeah, you know,
Like, what if it is, you know, a simplified version of this went to,
I had the exact same idea, but instead of, which is actually better, your idea for past city council member, to do it for current council members in all the cities that we're gonna be reviewing. Like, send it to them and let them tell us, but then that's not gonna give us as good data as the past one.
yeah, Issaquah, just.
Because it's Issaquah specific first, and then the size may not be the same.
Right.
I like that idea.
No, presumably it's not that hard to come up with that list of, and they may not respond, but some might, you know.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know.
I think so this is like including the expenses they have or just their.
Well,
motivation
maybe
to run?
motivation and a number of hours, just give
Just
like
like
a
a
high
bigger
level,
Yeah.
to get a bigger sample, of like how much.
Right, I
And
mean,
then-
it
And the other,
helped. Well, and then again, the farther back we go in time,
might change.
the data is gonna be
That's right.
skewed
Yeah.
by the size of the city itself, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
we just keep it like.
we go back,
If they're smaller than us or larger than us.
Some of the town.
no, even this city, like, I mean,
Oh.
10 years ago, Issaquah
This city was smaller.
half the size or less, like, right? So the amount of time they spend in meetings and stuff is gonna be skewed by that as well.
Right.
So if we're gonna go back,
So then it grew from. whatever,
Yeah.
To 60,000, so.
mhm.
For me, I'm sorry, go ahead, John, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I said, do you have a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, the information from the past council members is useful for the motivation about running or then maybe perhaps choosing not to run. I don't know that we'll get much more useful information about hours or prep time. I mean, we're gonna have 7 people filling this out with current data. But the reasons for running or not running, I think, are important.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking that might be also interesting to hear is like how many hours you think you would, in total, like dedicating to the position? And then also perhaps some questions to understand to the extent to which it requires flexibility in their other occupation or, whether or not there was, they feel that
Like conflict.
occupying this position creates
Yeah.
conflict, or how much of these hours spent is actually hours that conflict with,
That's a really good point.
Do you have a full-time job?
Yeah, do you have a full-time job?
Would be a question.
That should be on this for sure.
Does
Do you
it,
have a full-time job? Have you had to
Mhm.
rework your hours of your full-time job? If you do,
Yeah.
have you
What's your
to
house
rework
at?
your hours of your full-time job
how
to
frequent?
spend in council or in your position?
Do you feel that this
That's a
like
good question.
restricted
That's
your,
a-
your earnings, because you have, or, something, whatever, to give a sense of how much are they giving up and how much taking this position
We know.
actually is limited to people who have, unusually
Right,
special circumstance.
because we know if they have a full-time job or not,
Right.
right?
Do you think this would be compatible with a regular 9 to 5 job, like
It
maybe they
wouldn't
can
be for
say,
me, just sitting in this
Fair.
position, I know I couldn't. do
right,
it.
say, would a person that has less flexibility,
Mhm.
would they be able to still
Mhm.
step into this
Yeah.
role?
I mean, it's interesting. I've been thinking about this as you're talking and maybe with the more flexible work that everybody's getting to, at least like professionals and they're used to, there might be more people interested than there used to be.
Yeah.
The other thought I had is for data collection was what if we, and this could be controversial, but I throw it out anyway. Send it out to everybody who's on a city board or commission. And well, not the cost part, because we don't care about that for them, but the motivations, right? And, would a job like this, we could once we have the data, we could say, would a job like this, could you handle it? And,
I think.
try to get people's impressions of why they would run or wouldn't run,
Yeah.
There's more to it than just the hours, but that's something that's be useful awareness to raise what people are
I
thinking
mean,
about it.
but unless we're thinking about setting full-time job salaries for the commission, how beneficial would that data be,
And then
right?
I think some people think it's a bad idea anyway, because you don't want to scare people off. We need people to step up for public service.
But I think you're onto something where you solicit the opportunity to provide feedback. So every meeting, we have a public comment opportunity.
Yeah,
we'll have a formal public hearing.
Yeah.
We can push information out and say, any of you, if you have feedback to provide, salary commission at Issaquah.gov.
yeah,
I guess I'm looking at the equity question because the way, nature of work's changed so much. So
Yeah.
when I first moved to this town in the eighties,
Mhm.
everybody was on the council, they had a full-time job, most of them did, but it was here in the city limits.
Mm,
You know,
Drawing
they weren't
community.
commuters, but it was exception.
Yeah.
Right, and since turned into everybody commutes. In order to afford to live here, the big paying jobs, unless you have to be executive at Costco or work at the hospital, they're not here, right? Unless you're doing remote work. So it turned into everybody's commuting, which put the, and then the city grew, so it put the squeeze on the time, trying to get there,
Mhm.
time for meetings,
Our meetings used to start at 7:30 PM,
right?
Because of.
and then we've at
We
least
got
scaled
moved
it
up
back
a
to
little,
7.
Yeah,
but a lot of us
So-
work from home too.
yeah, so I just tried to think about what that means for people's, who might consider
Right.
getting involved.
Is it-
The beast has changed a lot, and, if you work here in town, it's way easier to show up for all these other little
Yeah.
committees and this and that and everything else.
And that might just be beyond the scope of what we can influence, since it's just a salary commission. We're gonna change the structure of the thing, but it could still be an interesting insight, right? To know, let's say, how, I mean, it sounds like we already have information to answer that question, but still, right, I'm understanding it. And then here's and maybe this is derailing a little bit, but question: is it possible that in the options that we consider here, is it legally possible, let's say, to structure compensation such that on a need basis, there is a, bonus, there's more, let's say if somebody were to get elected and they make their normal, in their primary job less than X, then they would be entitled to additional compensation from the city. Because this seems like the things coming up that, yeah, well, this doesn't pay full compensation because it's not meant to do so, but this might be restricting to some people. So is it an option here to say there would be extra compensation given for lower income
Yeah,
commissioner?
all I'm gonna do is make that a note of, our next steps, because we'll have an equity discussion, is that next meeting?
No, the 16th.
16.
And
So
is that
that
even
way-
like out, like, is there some legal reason where this couldn't be done?
Right, is it possible we can do sort of a needs-based compensation model?
We
Yeah.
can pose the question
Yeah,
internally, externally. I know that there's a way for council to not accept their full salary or give back or,
Sure.
but your point is, different and we can ask, we can look, see if
The
anybody
lawyers.
else is doing it.
Or do you have lawyers, presumably, right?
I haven't found in my research another jurisdiction that offers kind of that flexibility.
Mhm.
But we do offer stipends for board commission members, so we can see if there's something that,
Right.
that is effective.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to
Okay.
know too, when you ask that question, what triggers fluctuations on that? Let's say that a person gets elected to city council and they make X today, and then 3 months after they start doing the job, they start working just part-time, so their X salary goes to down. Does
Yeah, they
that
have
mean
to
that
have
their
some
compensation
rules,
bonuses
right?
kick in then, right?
Well,
Would
it's
we
just-
have people that start, asking for less salary on their primary job just to get more from the city? Like, I don't know.
I mean, that the first question would be just like, can that even be done? And then if yes, and you can see like perhaps the criteria like the salary when they launch their candidacy, something, there could be some criteria that prevents, somebody like, okay, now I'm just gonna quit my job and go part-time just because I want to. I don't know, but again,
Is there anything wrong with that, though? I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody saying, I'd rather do some civic
right,
work. And so this makes it possible for me to do. If I moved to part-time in my profession and because of the compensation package.
right,
Otherwise, that person would never consider it, right? I can't do both.
yeah, exactly.
Especially if, like, say you're a doctor or some other job where you physically have to be there. It might be high paying, but there's no virtual meetings or stuff, right? You have to be there or a lawyer to go to represent.
Yeah, and if we are saying that, okay, this is a demanding number of hours, maybe it is feasible if you have a part-time job, but not if you have a really demanding full-time job. Or the other scenario is just purely simple, a really low-income person, that would need and wouldn't want them to be in a poverty situation being city council member,
So these are good questions. So I kind of put these in here for consideration on the 16th, like, what is the demographic of low and working class community members, income base, what are we looking at? Because we want to look at, I'm curious what our representation is relative to our community. Because if there's a large number and they're not represented at all, it's bad.
Right.
And the same thing would go for, ethnic mix in our city. I think we've got a pretty large Asian community and they're not represented. You don't see them involved in council or even in other commissions for the most part. So how do we recruit that group? But that's a whole other question.
Yeah, because the salary
Yeah.
where
I don't
does the
think it's
salary
it's something
commission?
else. It's just a matter of, inclusion. But that's a good conversation to have with, at that meeting.
Yeah, it feels like it's a little out of our scope. We're just here to do the salary, but yet those are good, how do we bring those up for?
If there's overlap between
Yeah.
income
Right.
and ethnic groups, then
Yeah.
that enhances the discussion about
Yeah.
changing.
We can, yeah,
Could
because
influence the
Compensation
salary.
for certain groups if that's what it takes to get insurance.
Right.
we have one tool, but we can use that to leverage the other stuff, right? Like equity, the inclusion, the diversity of the council by providing, again, not making it a deterrent
Right.
for anyone. I like that idea because again, as we were saying in as I was saying last meeting, I want a single mom with, that works, Fred Mayor to run for city council, get elected, because again, it represents a chunk of the population that's not being represented right now.
And it might be more palatable too for the citizens, to say, okay, there is a significant increase, but just upon, certain criteria here, right? Say, if we come out of here and say, we're just going to make the salary much more attractive, possibly there would be, folks that wouldn't agree with that, but if it is like, hey, if to target in a targeted manner, if there is somebody here that gets elected and they meet some, income threshold, there below some income threshold, then there would be additional compensation, given that the data shows that this is, not paying for number of hours that they are working, this seems like there could be like a case to be made there for fairness.
They can't do any really out of.
Correct, they don't have the extra income that the other commissioners, council members, there's,
Let's see if it's allowed and then we can, yes.
We'll look at those
So-
numbers, yeah.
Yeah, so I posed the question, as, looking to connect, question for providing stipend for lower income elected officials beyond base salary.
What about just the base salary? We were not, that
I-
for sure cannot be done, or is just other cities?
I believe base salary has to be consistent across because
Yeah.
there's an application process by which there's a percentage. So,
All right, so when you run.
yeah, but I'll ask
pay
if
for
there's
those.
flexibility.
It's 10%
10%
of the,
Of the base salary.
of the yearly base salary.
So there's that hurdle, which, but
Right.
that's different.
Wait, sorry,
because-
what was that?
So if I'm gonna run for position, and the salary is, $100,000, just a big position like the mayor. I have to go up with 10,000 just to get my name on the ballot in the county. It's a
Right.
county law.
You have to,
You have to
gotta
pay,
It's a
that's the
filing
entry
fee.
fee.
Apply.
The filing fee for you to be in on the ballot
10% of 1
is
year.
10% of 1 year's
Pay to
salary.
play.
But I believe the county does have a needs-based assistance program. Where you can say,
Yeah.
prove that I am working, I'm living below a certain poverty rate, and they'll pay for it. It comes from a separate fund, and they pay for that.
so they have to pay 10% of the salary just to
All
run.
these council members pay 10%, yeah.
Interesting.
And so, of course, running for mayor, you really start thinking about it. That's like
Oh, yeah.
10,000.
Oh,
Didn't
Right,
win.
right.
oh, that's right. And if you've got two other competitors,
Yeah,
they've all paid
Well,
that.
maybe it's not base salary, maybe it's a bonus.
The stipend,
That's,
that's what the stipend is, right? So instead of giving you internet, we're gonna give you an extra, I don't know, $30,000 a year, throwing a number, but,
Cost of living.
yeah, but that fee is, like I said, the county will cover that if they don't have any money. So that's
Yeah,
not an issue. And then
That's
that's one of the reasons why when people are exploring to run, it turns into the fundraising.
mhm.
mhm.
Because if you can raise enough money to at least cover that, then, okay, that means you
Right,
have
there
some
you go.
people willing to support you, it's okay, maybe you
Mhm.
should do it. Which is this whole other animal.
Yeah, because support, it's money in that sense, but
Yeah.
it's very
Mhm.
unique. Money politics.
Okay.
It's the American way, I guess, two go together.
Okay,
Okay, so, next page, or we've got this guy where we want it. This
So,
is the-
yeah. Are we good with the monthly preparation time?
Hmm.
We don't need to put in per month on that.
The top row, those numbers are just, they can be a lot bigger than that.
Oh, you can
Everything else-
refresh, I
Yeah,
updated
if you
it,
refresh
sorry.
it. Oh.
So,
And then we're next.
there,
Top there.
Oh, yeah, this is the second
Right there.
matrix.
Best estimate of time spent per month studying and preparing for each meeting.
outline below in hour.
Yeah,
And then you have city council, and then all of the
Yes.
individual committees and
I would be the
whatnot.
person that missed
I
that.
think it
that
works
first
for everything
one.
except for the top
Yeah.
row. Because it's more than an hour and there's automatically 3 meetings a month or 4 possibly.
You wanna break, then should we break that into
Its own,
regular city council meeting? Then,
yeah. then it would-
special city council meeting,
Yeah, it would fit.
committee of the whole, or
Yeah.
council of the,
Yeah.
what, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, committee of the whole. That's what it is.
All right, so we go city council,
Regular.
committee of the whole, special council meetings. And then we go,
Yeah, that'll be.
and then. Okay, I guess we can refresh again. I may have misspelled some in there, but let's see.
Keep going
Best
down.
estimate of each month.
Okay, so regular city council, committee of the whole,
Mhm.
special council meetings, and then,
Off you go. That looks good.
okay,
and you're still comfortable with, because they're,
Because they're separated. The
They're
3
separated now?
together
Okay.
is gonna
Of the
be,
whole,
it starts
okay.
at 5 and goes up, but if they're separated, that makes sense.
Mhm.
okay. Then the next one is, travel time outside of the city of Issaquah.
Mhm.
And then it's again,
Yeah, that's reasonable.
what, do we wanna match the less than
Mhm.
thing, or we wanna keep it like this?
and this is monthly, we probably need to put it for
Yeah.
the travel time, just to remind.
Per month.
The word. monthly
Right,
at a
so we
time.
can do,
Travel time outside the city of Issaquah per month. Or some
leave
chat.
with it.
Or you put
We
one
used
thing.
it.
Monthly travel time,
Okay.
yeah,
That works.
monthly
Mhm.
travel time outside the city of
And those
Issaquah.
buckets are fine.
Mhm.
And then less than 1 hour, less than 3 hours, oops. We go less than 5 hours. And
Okay.
5 hours plus.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's an half hour to Bellevue, or you go down to Renton, or you head over to Seattle. And then maybe the council president deputy might go to a conference, but it's still in state, you know.
Mhm.
Don't believe they go out of state for anything.
We have,
That's official business for council. Oh,
done some flights.
That's true. I got to fly in a jet once.
Fancy.
It was a solar powered factory tour down in Portland, when there's a new thing, and they're just starting to build solar panels down there.
Cool.
So it was interesting, because there was an economic vitality discussion about bringing that kind of work up north. Didn't happen, but maybe it will now.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, this one, yeah,
In-person meetings, Christmas.
I'm just changing all the headers to match the lessons. Yeah.
that's good.
You should put in, does not count your husband and kids.
All right, I am done. You can refresh now so that we can take a look at the next one, which would be citizen interaction time.
Which one?
Citizen interaction time. Right after this one is the one with travel, monthly travel time,
Mhm.
and then citizen interaction time.
Oh, that we
Phone
were
calls,
ready.
in-person meetings, responding to emails, others,
Uh-huh.
right?
Interaction outside of meeting and prep hours.
And again, that's monthly, right?
Yeah, monthly.
Lee?
Yeah, when I was doing my mock answers, and I don't think it's changed much, it's almost zero phone calls, even though your phone number is published.
People don't call.
If you get a phone call, it's usually somebody related to one of your boards that you're on.
Mm.
It's,
But it is
emails.
interaction. It's
Emails are more common.
But it is people, can we get coffee? Can we go for a walk? I'm gonna show you something in my neighborhood. I
Yeah,
wanna,
that's true, especially president, deputy.
it's usually to
Just
set something
regular
up.
riffraff council member. They go to the power.
I don't know, I think Barbara parties. I wanna go have a beer with her.
But, it's the drive, what I call drive-by, you're out walking just in your street and your neighbors know you. And it turns into a conversation about, how come the city can't fix this thing? And then
Right.
and of explaining how it works and what you're trying to do about it and all that stuff. It just happens,
That I imagine must be the most common, right?
Yeah.
Impromptu.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can still be a council member, be pretty anonymous in this town. There's nobody tunes in,
Chase.
unless they really have something you're worried about, they don't tune into YouTube or anything, and so.
Yeah, I can see.
I have a girlfriend that called the insurance commissioner for the state of Washington. It rang twice. First person answered and said, sure, hang on, and connected her.
That's pretty good.
Because nobody calls. It's just like you said, I couldn't believe it. She said, oh yeah, there's nobody calls.
Straight
You
to the
just, they
top.
send emails, it's like if you just call, they answer.
Yeah,
Great,
Crazy.
all right. So that's now says monthly citizen interaction time. We're okay with the buckets and the
yeah,
items in there,
that's reasonable.
all right?
Mhm.
Then the next one is all other events time. I added after the above comma in a month,
Mhm.
just,
Okay.
it feels weird to say monthly, all other. So, okay, and then we have the same buckets, conferences,
So
community events.
this section, last one, I'm just gonna poke at this, you can tell me forget it.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get around talking about the whole nonprofit dinners, donation thing, as far as their time?
Mhm.
And you are representing the community when you're there.
Community fundraising events,
Mhm.
Yeah.
just listed as
Like
that.
that.
So we have the community events for like salmon days, farmer market, et cetera, and then we want one that says community fundraising.
Various fundraising events.
What?
Area, and just community fundraising events, and then you can have like such as nonprofits or regional.
Yeah.
Groups, something like that.
Mhm.
Kiwanis.
All right.
John, can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
How do you distinguish when someone is there, a council member is there representing the community versus doing it for the purposes of a campaign?
That's a good question. We're fortunate the campaign season is short around here. It's just like May till election day.
Yeah. Has to
So
be
if you
active.
got a 4-year terms, you're not really, doing that as part of campaigning. At least that's not, wasn't my experience. I didn't see anybody doing that. And some of these are in town, right? It's a fundraiser for a nonprofit that works there, but a lot of them are sort of regional.
And I see that some of the current council members have been appointed and then got elected as well. Like, and then the mayor makes the appointment, or is the rest of
No,
the
the
council?
council gets to do it.
Okay,
So what happens is, I have this terrible term called the beauty contest.
oh,
So if somebody quits midterm, then they put out a call for who is interested. And usually they go around and beat the bushes in the existing commissions to see if anybody's interested. And usually 2 to 10 people show up, and it just depends on the year. And they literally interview the council on a public meeting and talk about why they'd like to do it.
Wow.
And that's what I mean by a beauty contest. Can you stand up to the mic and be, have a reason, a good reason to want to run, what you would do? And the council can, I think it's a question and answer thing, if I remember right,
It's an public interview.
public interview. And then the council votes.
And that's it? That person doesn't have to pay the 10%?
Nope.
No.
for the reelection, they
But
do.
they're only on until.
Unless they want to get
until the
reelected.
next election.
Yeah.
And if they want to stay on the job, they're gonna pay the 10% and get elected.
It's 1%.
1%.
It's 1% of the salary.
For that
Like
person.
1%, that sounds
1%.
reasonable.
Oh, not 10%.
What's that?
It's
Okay.
1%.
I
Confirmed.
think you got scammed, John.
That sounds like.
Percent.
John got scammed.
John's gonna apply for a rebate.
1% of the annual salary.
Exactly.
That sounds about
Anyway,
reasonable.
so they have to run again if they want to stay on the job, and it's an open competition, so
Yeah.
somebody could run against them
Anybody could.
at that point. But it's, obviously incumbent advantage, and they kind of know the job, so they can sound like they know what they're doing when it comes to election campaigning and all that.
Sure.
Good.
Okay, where were we here? So we were,
At the bottom of this section now, where all other events time, I added the option for fundraising
Nonprofit.
events, nonprofit, regional, others.
Yeah.
If you just go
Next.
none everywhere, yeah, you're gonna go right on.
Hmm.
I will create the link and provide it for you to, pre-select all the nuns, so that.
Yeah, I got it. I couldn't move on. This is why I was like, oh.
It's still, it's the end of the first period. It's 4-2 Kraken. In case anybody was wondering.
we're already in the second round today?
That's amazing.
Do you
Who
watch?
are they playing?
It's hockey. They're playing in Dallas.
Yeah, I had to turn off the
We
last
were gone. I
game.
didn't know if you were, but
Of course,
Yeah,
hockey
they beat-
is, it's
kicked
the
out
last
Denver.
of the
Denver
blood
won the Stanley
sports.
Cup last year
Oh,
and we knocked them out.
Oh, the
Nice.
actual
About 7
active
games.
sport, yes.
yeah.
And now
Now,
we're playing Dallas.
They gave
First
our
game
guy
was tonight.
concussion, so
Or
he
is
broke
it-
the other guy's neck.
In Dallas tonight?
They're in Dallas
It's always
tonight.
intentional in hockey,
And
like in football.
today's Tuesday, right?
They're not really
Today, Tuesday and
trying.
Thursday, and they're home
Okay.
Saturday.
Looks like there's a page or.
But I
paragraph
still haven't
right
figured out
there.
how they. there's been
Yes,
concerts
and
Saturday night.
I've had the
And that
hardest
is like,
time.
that's not a fine.
If you go to the H
What?
of
What
have
is,
and
what stage of
backspace,
the
you
layout?
should be able to get rid of
The
what's in there.
second.
Second.
Character
Yeah.
turn stuck in there somewhere.
Yeah, soft turn.
Here's
something.
3.
Yeah, no, I know, and I try to read, but like, I'll do my best to fix that. Okay. Then we have, if you currently are or have been the council president or deputy council president, how many additional hours did you spend per month because of your position's additional responsibilities beyond the hours noted
Earlier?
above? Now, that above doesn't work because in the previous section should be, because they're gonna be to
Yeah.
line
That's
separate
the
page.
previous section. That is one long sentence. But
Spent.
All right,
Due to additional responsibilities.
Yeah, do,
You could shorten it up a little bit. Does somebody want to offer a edit?
are we ready?
Additional hours, you could just say, after the. How
I mean,
many
it
additional
could be beyond
hours?
the hours noted above, it's.
You could just
could
put in
lose
there,
that
beyond
because,
the hours noted previously, did you spend per month?
yeah,
And you don't need the additional responsibilities, that's assumed.
how
yeah,
many hours,
did you spend?
comma, beyond the hours noted previously,
Yeah,
did you spend in a month?
And then you don't need the rest of it.
All right. I guess refresh and click.
And then you
Sorry.
have page after page, we know.
I'm thinking, like, I can break it up later again.
Okay.
Should be easier.
I downloaded Grammarly on my laptop. It is free. It really helps a lot.
It does,
It's what you're thinking, you're just
I can't
writing
use
and
it
then it-
for security
Yeah.
reasons.
Grammarly?
is there a
Job
reason why it's
doesn't allow it.
breaking after
Yeah.
or there, is there a?
Yeah, so, I mean, and then this one is just provide additional time per month,
Mhm.
council president time, deputy council president time.
Good.
Do you think this is,
Yeah, do we need to
should
change
be
buckets?
246
You can
or
use the.
357?
The 5, 10, 15, 20, 20 plus?
I think so.
Okay, let me make that
I don't think it'll
change.
get that big, but you just want to get more room.
Did Henry forget to pay his power bill? It looks like he's in the dark.
Well, where I'm in this Airbnb and the only light is behind me, so it looks like I have a halo if I turn it on. And I'm not that good.
So I'm gonna fix this. Hours, 5 to 15. It's gonna be 20 plus, and then the 20 hours. All right, so that's done.
Mhm.
And then on the next section, you have expenses. This section will help again with the breaking of the thingy. Remove all that. This section will help the commission understand more about allowable expenses that you do not seek reimbursement for, and any other expenses that you incur in your work which are not reimbursable. And then for each of the following items, using an average month, provide the amounts of expenditures incurred in the category stated,
Mhm.
and whether or not you expensed the category for reimbursement in the past year.
So, do we need the phone one if they all
Yeah.
have been given phones?
I was just gonna say the same
Yeah,
thing.
you're right. Like, I didn't know that, so I'm gonna
Your
take that
calls.
out, and then the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
Take that one out too.
Take that one off too, so that
And
we
why
have,
is that again? They're using hotspots on their city phones?
their phones can become hotspots,
Okay.
and their laptops that they're giving are cellular enabled.
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, that's right.
And
Oh,
there's a
yeah,
stipend
that's-
program of $600
Right.
if they want to apply for it.
All right, there you go.
So the column headings there, you've got one of each symbol now, so the less than 500 and then greater than 500.
Because, yeah, so in this, I try to match the policy. So the policy of expenses
Yeah.
is, it goes by the level of approval that you need. If you're spending less than $250,
Mhm.
you expense whatever you want. If you are 250 to 500, it has to be, approved by, like,
Council
somebody's
President.
mom. And then 500 plus is like
Yeah.
the council president's son. So those are the numbers that
Oh,
I went
okay.
by.
I just meant you could put the less than symbol there instead. But
Yeah,
you want to
now-
keep the wording as it is.
the problem here that I have is that because I turned this into a multiple choice grid,
Yeah.
they can select a number and expensed as well.
They can?
They cannot.
They cannot.
So you cannot say, I did 250 and I expensed it, yes. So I have to make, this one has to be checkboxes, which again,
Do we need
That
expense?
Huh?
Maybe it should just be like, focus on what they are not getting reimbursed and then just remove the expense, you know? Maybe just,
well, we have questions below, I believe, that ask about stuff that they did not, oh no, that's not eligible for reimbursement, is what we have. We removed a bunch of questions about the not, stuff that they did not expense.
Yeah, you could get rid of the expensed column because you could make the assumption that we know what that is by going into the financial system and saying what got expensed. So we can actually look that up. It's the stuff that's never expensed that they're spending money on.
Right.
I mean, they could still have travel or mileage. But I would say some of my travel will show up. Maybe some people didn't bother going through us or paid their own registration.
Sometimes you get expenses and by the time you realize you forgot to expense it, it's too late.
I've been there.
Yeah.
But we have a way of recovering the data. I think this is what someone just said, but I couldn't hear it clearly.
Mhm.
We have the way of recovering data that has been expensed. So what we're looking for is stuff that is eligible but hasn't been expensed or is not eligible, I think.
Right, so we could get rid of the last portion of the header,
Mhm.
like, and whether or not you expense, like, we can get rid of all that and the expense column and just let them tell us of their expenditures, right?
Yeah.
And then we data and compare and say like, okay, so these people expensed these amounts, and then we kind of
Mhm.
remove that from the total and then average out, I guess.
Or we can just change the question to be the amount of expenditures for which you were not reimbursed.
For whatever reason.
I think that's,
don't have to
that's
say.
what
Yeah.
we do.
So,
All right.
so yeah, get rid of the expensed
Mhm.
column, so you can stick to your radio buttons.
Yeah.
And then just change the question at the top, let's say, list out everything you have not been reimbursed for.
We don't even have to ask why,
Right,
whether they did.
you could, but then
Yeah. So-
Does it
you could have a comment box at the bottom.
comment box?
For each of the following items, using an average month, provide the amounts of expenditures incurred in the category stated for which you were not reimbursed.
Mhm.
For which you were not reimbursed for, or reimbursed,
No.
just
reimbursed.
reimbursed.
Yeah, I like the first one.
I don't think you can end a sentence with
Yeah,
the word for.
English might not my first language.
Yeah.
All screwed up in there.
That's why I use Grammarly. I don't know
There you
why.
go.
There's a security risk on Grammarly because I put it on my work laptop.
No, it's just because if I use it in my work laptop, like everything that you're typing is sent to their servers.
Yeah.
So if you're writing like a secret document for like something, they know,
Oh.
they have all this information, right? So
Huh.
yeah, they literally block that Like you try to go to Grammarly and then alarms go off and the
Oh.
police take you away, so it's crazy.
Oh.
And Microsoft is the same thing, but it's a certified data center, it's a known,
Mhm.
Yeah,
known unknown.
yeah,
Okay,
Because that's the way they do most of that predictive text where you're typing
Yeah.
and it just throws the word out in front of it, it's all
Mhm.
web-based. It's not, that's,
Yeah.
rarely done locally, but never mind. A techie starts going off and that's.
yeah.
okay.
All right, so changes are made here. The expense column is now gone. So
That's
it
great.
goes 0 to less than 250, 250 to 500, and then 500.
And you took expense to question mark out.
Yeah, that's.
Maybe Linda, you're right. Maybe I should just say less than 500 and keep it consistent with the other ones because it looks
Yeah.
a little weird.
Yeah.
I know, this-
And then
like
say
we have a smorgasbord of
0,
things in there now.
less than
Yeah,
250, less than 500, 500 plus.
there you go.
Keep it there. Excellent. So that update has been made, with the stuff at the top. Please read again and make sure I didn't mess up. The
That's
expect column should be gone.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, at least it's, I don't have to re-enter.
Mhm.
Yeah, at least
We're almost
that's
there.
good. Thank you so much for help.
All right, it's gone.
There you go. So now you spend some time like clicking everything so you don't.
Thank you.
You could take out some comments.
Subtext, so they understand that it, maybe I'm overthinking it, that these numbers are pulled from their expense policy? Or should we just wait when they? Per expense policy or?
We can add it. I mean,
It's
like a
probably
disclaimer,
confusing.
like a disclaimer,
I think we
like,
should just leave
Leave
it,
it, and then when the question's posed.
Because at the
Okay.
end, there's,
yeah.
at the last page, there's a place for just comments.
So
You
the
can put
first,
it there.
the sentence or the question at the top could be,
how do you know if I expense it or not? Where they go? We know.
well, so go back up. Yeah. A little higher, that question, for each of the following, so I think you can shorten that a lot.
Yeah.
And just start with the word, provide the average monthly amounts of expenditures for each of the. Which are not reimbursed.
Provide the monthly amounts
Some kind of noise.
For-
Expenditures. Average monthly expenditures.
Wait, provide the monthly amounts of average monthly expenditure. Provide the monthly amounts of expenditures
Yeah.
for each of the items below.
For which you are not reimbursed.
Are these really monthly amounts? That would seem for all of these a lot, even 250 would be a lot in a month.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's monthly.
That's true. It should be provided
$250 a
yearly.
month.
Yeah.
Smaller numbers then.
Yeah.
So 0, 25, 100, 100 plus. Because you're talking about an average month. Yeah, if they flew somewhere, but then there's
Yeah,
usually not
but
stuff.
then there's
there
times where they
anyway.
just- Yeah.
That's all done through the city accounting.
So if they come to the city office, they can do their copying there using your copy
If
machines.
they need paper, yes.
Mhm,
If what?
Yes, if they need paper and it's not for a campaign.
Yeah, no, okay.
mhm.
But if there's a campaign, then they go to like FedEx office or
Yeah.
something. Great.
Yeah, so, 0, 25, 50, 100 plus. And just,
Yeah, so
there you go.
less than 25, less than
Mhm.
50, less than 100, 100 plus.
Yeah.
That's what I put there.
Right.
And then the thing, you can refresh that. And then
Mhm.
it reads, provide the monthly amounts of expenditure for each of the items below for which you are not reimbursed.
Right, I lost where I had it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, that looks better.
All right.
Okay.
And then next one, if
So,
you did not see,
One extra, so go back up. I got stuck. You can get rid of the first comma from the sentence.
The
structure.
commas, yeah.
the first what?
The first
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Don't need that. No,
No, just
no,
the
just the
comma.
comma. not expenditures, just the comma after expenditures.
Yeah.
Get that? Delete.
I'm just showing where it
No.
was.
Just the comma.
Well, no,
I'm not
she's
editing
not
it, I'm just showing
Oh.
them where it's
You
at.
can do it if you want.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so I got rid of
It's in the
there
kitchen.
you go. Provide the monthly amounts of expenditures for each of the following items, no comma,
I see.
for which you were not reimbursed. Okay, then the next is if you did not seek reimbursement for any of the expenditures above, please provide a brief explanation as to why you decided not to.
Yeah,
The if maybe is not necessary, right, since it's already
Maybe just explain
why you
Why?
didn't seek.
you
Yeah.
did not seek reimbursement.
Cause you're saying. what-
Well, because if we look at the data and everything that they
Mhm.
said, all the money there, they expensed it,
Mhm.
right?
Well, then they shouldn't be providing that, but right, isn't that the purpose of the
So
first?
they're either gonna say 0 and don't have anything to say, or they've selected something and have something to say, right?
Right.
So it would be,
Just please provide a brief explanation
Mhm.
as to why you did not seek reimbursement.
yes,
You did not seek.
reimbursement.
Would there be times when they weren't reimbursed because it was against the rule, so policy?
It could be, that's a
Yeah.
different
So
discussion.
that's.
Yeah, well, so, but their answer could be, it's not eligible for reimbursement, or
Yeah.
it's eligible and I forgot.
And once again,
Can take time.
I want to know why they think it's not eligible for reimbursement, because the policy says nothing about you can't reimburse for this stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
Sure.
All right, so please provide a brief explanation as to why you decided not to seek reimbursement.
sure, yep.
And then it's not required, great. Next, if a council credit card were made available to you, would you be more inclined to seek reimbursement for the expenditures which you have not done so for in the holy, Jesus Christ? That was a roller coaster, that thing right there.
Question makes me a little
Expenditures,
nervous.
period.
yeah, you could just say for
Huh?
the expenditures here.
Yeah, just take,
Or is it asking a different question?
Well, they're not called credit cards.
Well, regardless of what you call it,
Purchasing
a P
card,
card.
I guess. a
Yeah, P
card.
Because there's so much documentation that would have to be
yeah,
collected. It's,
What's that, that you don't think this is possible?
no, it's an interesting question to ask. The question, how real is us providing P cards to individual council members?
Mhm.
It's-
just. it
And
doesn't
again,
make a
it's not
difference.
something that we can say as part of our job in this
Mhm.
commission, hey, provide a credit card, but, oh, here's a suggestion to the city, figure out how to give them a P card or whatever to the city council so that they can expense more of the stuff that they're spending on, right? That's, I think, where we went with,
Yeah.
when we talked about this before.
Having a corporate card is almost more of a hassle. If I just use my personal card, then I have to expense it. If I use a corporate card, I have to expense it twice. I have to give, do it in the expense report. So it's,
Somebody told you.
in my world, the corporate card or P card is not worth the hassle. I would rather just use my own
Yeah.
card and expense it.
No, I have to
It
expense
really
it the
depends
same
on
way
how
on mine,
they
you
do
know.
it, right? So P cards, if they're done right, you just, once a month, you go in and it's already all listed and you just
Oh.
type in, this is this is that,
Yeah.
I was here, I saw them there, blah, blah, blah.
Well, if you don't have to create the report,
As opposed to expense accounts, you gotta pull up a form, create,
Yeah.
put in all the dollar amounts.
so it's the same for me.
dates And all that stuff, right? With
Yeah.
a P card, it just comes in.
Sort of, but you have to have all the documentation behind it.
You still
You
have
can
to
keep the
receipts.
receipts.
You know,
And the agenda, and the map
which you
by
went.
which you went, and the,
But it still comes in filled out.
Proof that is eligible,
What-
like,
Will the council members know all that? Will they know all the ramifications of having a P card?
well, I mean,
Maybe.
they have access to payment from the executive office, so in a roundabout way, they have access to a P card. It's probably still a good question to ask, what would we,
Do with it? Well, the reason I'm asking,
Yeah.
if we're asking them essentially, do you want this? But without telling them, you then have to go in and every month and submit your expenses and, I don't know, if they can make an educated decision at this point.
And isn't that essentially
Mhm.
their prerogative to propose? If,
Right.
let's say, aren't they the decision makers
want to
here,
do-
like, so
They
it's
set
like,
policy, if they wanted to, they. could
they
do that,
wanted
but
to
they
like,
decide
are we
on-
helping them think through this, is like, maybe just lose
I
that
think they're all
question?
familiar with the concept from their professional experience, or most of them.
Yeah.
Right,
But you could just, to simplify the wording, if council member purchasing cards were issued, would you be more inclined, to seek reimbursement?
Mhm.
And just keep it simple like that, and
Yeah.
all the repercussions that's downstream if they think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
If council member purchase cards were made available
Comma.
to you or just were made available?
Just made it.
Made available.
Comma.
Would you be more?
Actually, do you need a
To
comma?
see reimbursement.
Yeah.
For these expenditures. And just close it like that.
Period. Question mark, sorry.
There you go. Yes, no, don't know, don't care. All right.
Okay.
Then a header
Mhm.
that says the following questions relate to expenses you incur in your work as a council member that are not eligible for reimbursement. Period.
So we already kind of declared that
Yeah.
above, if there's any dollar amounts above, then that answer is automatically yes.
So we could
That
take
this
are not eligible for reimbursement. This is not that you did not seek reimbursement for, this is that is not eligible for reimbursement.
Yeah.
So you incur expenses that are not eligible for
Let me
reimbursement.
ask that question just right there. What,
Yeah.
or go down?
It's sort of here.
yeah, they would say it's not
They
eligible.
might have mentioned it there, but you want to get.
You don't
know
know for sure.
exactly why they're not eligible, okay. Well, if they say yes here.
Well, I
what's the
mean,
next thing?
we're not getting detailed with the question for the not eligible ones. It's just yes, no, or, and then give me some
Right.
comments about it.
Yeah.
And then there's another question, which is what types of expenses do you incur that are not reimbursable?
That's below.
And the
Right.
purpose for all of these expense questions is if we need to raise salary, this could be one reasoning for raising salary.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Do you think there would be that many?
I don't know.
Okay, well then we should ask. All right,
I
And
might be a little.
I wanna see, I'm sorry,
there's a lot of, if. it's
how
just
many,
Kind of like we're asking the same question a couple different ways. If they don't put it in there on the, after this one, then that would be the reasoning for those other ones. Questions.
right, but like maybe one thing that's not eligible for reimbursement, that is not seek reimbursement, and
Mhm.
I wanna see how many of the 7 put that there is, the fundraiser thing where I gave a check to
Yeah.
this thing or that other thing, right?
That's how they look at it. They might be doing that before they even got elected,
Right,
so they don't really care.
Right. Yeah. I really like the question. I don't think we know how we're gonna use it right now, but
well, the data is gonna be nice to have,
yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right, the next is what is the average monthly amount of expenses that you incur, which are not reimbursable?
Mhm.
And they just ask them for an amount.
My only comment on that, Victor, is should we use monthly again, or is that too fine a time period for this?
Well, we kept the top monthly too, we just reduced the amounts of the
Yeah.
apps, right, 25 to 50, and in here we kept it also monthly.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
guess across the board,
Yeah,
keep it the same.
It may take some math on their part if they go to the rubber chicken dinner once every 6 months, but
right.
Right,
Can't tell you how many, although the secret to those is always go for the vegetarian plate.
yeah,
hey, wait, what?
And all those conference dinners and stuff,
Yeah.
go for the vegetarian plate. It's
That's
really-
right.
Otherwise, if you get a rubber chicken or a fish, it's not quite.
Yeah, a fish that smells.
or when you get there, tell them you have a specific food allergy and they'll bring you something special that's just cooked.
Right,
Yeah. I'm allergic to salt.
right,
So-
great. Well, that brings us to the end of section 4.
Mhm.
which was expenses. Now we go into the section 5, which is compensation.
Mhm.
Compensation does not have a description, or it didn't in the questionnaire that was on the document.
Mhm.
Then the first question, has the compensation for council members ever influenced your decision whether to run for council office? Yes or no? Then comments, which are optional. And then there's an optional, which is like highlighted option, because we talked about this last time. Do you currently have health insurance other than Medicare or Medicaid?
Well.
Hmm?
Most people have a plan B or whatever, that extra one, right? I don't have Medicare, but or Medicaid, whatever. I hear
Well,
like talking
Yeah,
about
there,
an extra plan.
we
Right.
phrase that as eliminating Medicare or Medicaid because if they are eligible for those, that's gonna put some limitations on what the city could provide anyhow. I think that just gets really complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting, I
Do
guess.
you have, do you currently have self-procured health insurance?
Maybe we take
I
it out.
think it's just fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
I think what would be most, that would give you, like, if there's somebody who's probably, 65, so they're gonna have Medicare.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody on council is gonna have Medicaid, that's pretty rare.
No.
That's, you have to be pretty poor to even get that.
Oh, that's the one.
That's the difference, right? And then,
But don't you always have an extra plan on top of Medicare?
You don't have to.
that is where the
It's
second
optional.
question
Oh,
comes
okay.
into play, right? So if you want dental, vision,
Mhm. Oh, because
you have
those
to
things
buy
are
that
covered by
separate.
Medicare. Okay.
It doesn't come with the Medicare
Mhm.
automatically. So that's an interesting one for people who are
Yeah.
retired, who would, don't want,
They'd
to
wanna
buy a
compare.
supplemental or
Yeah, supplemental, that's what I meant.
Yeah, it's, or Advantage plan, but it's,
being up on all that crap. It's
Oh, it's a
stupidly
mess.
complicated because we have a.
And it's
great
gonna be a ton of
country when it comes to
questions.
healthcare.
You
Unnecessary.
live in a different country than mine? Because mine sucks and okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
because my parents are on the, like, I got their insurance through the exchange thing and,
Right.
oh man, that's a mess up in there. Anyways, so the question one,
Mhm.
so we're okay with it.
Yeah.
Its current state. Then second one, would health benefits,
Mhm.
medical, dental, vision provided by the CDB be
Yeah.
of interest to you?
Mhm.
Yes, no,
I read that.
possibly. Then comments optional.
And then the premium question, right?
Would you be, would being required to pay some share of the premium affect
Mhm.
your interest, right?
Right.
And then comments as
Yeah.
well.
I like that there's possibly on these questions,
Yeah.
because that's, when I was reading them, it's
Show me
like,
the
yeah,
numbers, I'll tell you.
it
you know.
depends. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
What are you proposing?
And then that's where the comments is like, yeah, I mean, if I have to pay less than $100, then great. If I have to pay more than that, man, maybe not, right? And then are there any other benefits not mentioned above that you would like to see considered as part of the compensation packages for council members, right? Maybe there's something that they say like, man, it would be great if they could cover
Pet
for
insurance.
this thing and we don't know, and then we can
Pet
consider
insurance,
it.
it's a big deal right now.
Which one?
Pet insurance.
Pet insurance.
Mhm.
Pet insurance. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah. And you have to get 2 of them. Well, not 2.
2 pets?
No. We have 2 cats. My wife has 2 cats.
Mhm.
And she has the Banfield Hospital thing where like the checkups are included and whatnot, and that's like
okay.
$50 a month. And then there's the insurance, because if they get hurt, that doesn't cover that, so you gotta get this one too. And then, yeah,
And what's so funny about that?
freaking
is
cats
that
cost more than my
It's
kids.
gonna help the medical industry
Mhm.
because right now the biggest problem being a regular doctor is the billing. It kills you. It's like a third of your revenue goes to an office full of people to
Oh.
get the money out of the insurance companies.
Yeah.
So a lot of
remember
new
that.
students were going into vet school
Mhm.
because it was a cash and carry business. And so they have none of that overhead. So they actually are making better money for the amount of schooling than doctors.
Sorry.
Which
It's
is kind of
hypocrisy.
backwards, right? And so now the insurance companies have decided to weigh in on the vet business and make it
Wow.
complicated.
Yeah.
Maybe kids won't be going to vet school, they'll go and actually become physicians again.
Or maybe they become accountants for doctors.
Mhm.
Apparently that whole thing.
If I were gonna do it over, can I be a pharmacist? Because that's required a doctorate,
Yeah,
and you always have a job.
yeah. or you can be a compound fund.
Yeah,
society.
if
Nephew's doing that, it makes big money, it's really
Yeah.
good,
I were giving a
That's
choice.
compound, that's where they do mixtures and stuff.
custom work, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some startup costs for getting a lab going. but
Okay,
it's-
this last question is what I was waiting on. It needs to be reworded.
Yeah,
I
Great.
believe. I think it's a good question. It could be so much shorter. So how about, please note below any additional topics that you would like the salary commission to consider.
Hmm. Well, okay, so that's fine.
Mhm.
What I think what I was trying to get out of this question
Mhm.
was, do you think that there is a level of subject matter expertise required to do this job
Mhm.
that we need to consider when thinking about salary, right? In my mind, it's, do we set an hourly rate of the $7.50, like federal rate, or a specialized one of $25 an hour, or a super great one at $40 an hour when we come up with our numbers and our averages and whatnot? I'm sure that there's some you know, SME stuff that goes into there, right?
it's a really philosophical question.
Right.
It is,
We know what the minimum requirement is.
that you have to be here for a
You have to
year,
live
and
in the
yeah,
city.
exactly,
I
but,
like that suggestion, because it's like, it is an open question anyways, right? So
Exactly.
just let them answer, like, just to say that was more, and
Yeah.
let it be like that.
It's almost.
It
like
doesn't
you worked
add
in
a whole lot,
compliment there.
yeah.
It's nice. It feels like you worked in a compliment of you're motivated, your experience, your scope, all that stuff, but we really just want to know, didn't
Yeah.
miss anything.
Those initial points there are not necessarily adding it to the question, you know, to specify, you know.
how about, let's meet halfway. Let's keep this one and add one.
Or you could do it, is there anything that you'd like us to consider, and then put brackets such as motivation, experience.
Okay,
Like,
Yeah, combine those two suggestions. I like that.
yes, is there anything you would like the salary commission to consider? And then
Parentheses.
in parentheses,
Complexity.
motivation, experience, or scope of the,
or complexity.
or scope, or the scope or complexity of the work, close
Yeah.
parentheses.
Yeah.
Question mark?
Mhm.
All right, that does read way more simple, way simpler, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, the philosophical question, it's a, you know, in this country, you have people who believe in institutions and consider like you should have know what you're doing if you're gonna lead,
Mhm.
be elected. But there's also a strong tradition of,
Mhm.
there should be nothing like that. The politicians are next to garbage men, they're worthless, you know, they're the riffraff, you know, and so it shouldn't be highly compensated, it shouldn't be anything, you know. And that goes way back to like the revolutionary times and the way they considered people who are in office for a House representative for short term. That's it, no career politicians, none of that. So there's sort of
Yeah.
two competing philosophies in our history.
Yeah.
And you can hear it when you listen to people talk.
One more like technocratic, other more like
Right.
representative of the, rather than.
Yeah.
Career specialized.
Holding the
then-
government to account, or are you a technocrat trying to drive things forward? It's the two different
Right.
approaches.
And then there's the views of like,
Mhm.
government's just bad and.
Yeah. They usually just go to meetings and yell, you know, they put themselves in the line and run for office, because that is its own sacrifice.
Yeah.
John, I didn't hear the first category. You said technocrat was the second one. What was the first category?
Technocratic, and of course, I can't remember whatever I said, I just say it. And hold the government to account.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And, you know, it goes, ebbs and flows, the tide goes in, the tide goes out with those two philosophies. Washington State used to have a Republican governor. We haven't seen one for 30 years.
Wasn't it the guy they named the bridge after?
Spillman.
Oh,
was the
It's
last
the
Republican
governor
governor.
just announced.
There's
one,
a lot of bridges named after a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure
The
he's got a bridge.
520 bridge,
Yeah.
the 520 bridge was named after an Italian. Is he Republican?
He was before Spillman. Yeah, he was like in the early 60s or late 60s. Rossellini, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, Victor, in the
Okay, so,
incognito form,
yeah,
the nuns didn't show up for every row throughout, so.
Right.
Might want to
Now.
check that again.
Yes, no, I just emailed you the link. So so the link looks like this.
Yeah, I
Um,
just used that one.
Oh, no, right, yeah, no, that was the old one. I sent you a brand new one just now.
Right,
It's-
it's six, oh, no,
No, that was a 627. That was like, that's
Alright.
the old one. The new one, actually, I'm gonna send it again.
I don't see it. I see the six.
New link is gonna be called.
All right,
I'm gonna just paste, send.
cool.
thanks for doing all that work on the survey.
No, my pleasure.
I can tell you enjoy it.
Yeah, I was a
And you're good at it, so.
software engineer for like 15 years. And, yeah, I like the opportunity to like scratch that itch, as I call it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
somehow my hotspot is slow as heck, but that email should be on its way. If it's not, I have the link and, I'll send it to you. I think the next steps then,
So next steps, we've got more testing of the survey.
right, Tina will distribute the link to everybody once you have it.
The newest link?
And
So the one that I, that's in the email won't be the right one.
No, you'll get a new one.
so, assuming that we're okay with it after testing, are we on track to
Mhm.
share that with the council?
By end of day this Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, by this
Or-
week.
Yeah, end of day Thursday, so they have the long weekend to answer by the end of Monday,
Mhm.
so that everybody gets a chance to kind of like review the answers
Yeah.
on Tuesday during the day,
Right.
Close of business Monday.
and then Tuesday evening, we discuss them.
Yep.
I will figure out the right way to share the answers. But I can share an Excel, just spreadsheet with all the stuff, but
Mhm.
there's a really nice, reporting interface on this, which I guess, like, now there's 6 responses, but like, you can see that it goes out and it breaks down like, oh, this, the type of answers, and then there's I don't know if you can see that
I can see
there,
it.
but
I
it's
can,
like,
yeah.
breaks down a chart and it says like, oh, this many ones were none, this many ones were 10 hours, and there's
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
The
so,
worst thing is just make a PDF of the results.
Mhm.
for
right.
Publication.
So I believe that there's
Do you want, as chair, do you want to provide a lead-in to the survey? So when I send it to council,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
there's
I can do that.
instructions or a nice message on behalf of your data collection,
So when do we publish it to them? That'll be on Friday?
Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, I think Thursday or Friday. If it's Thursday, then they get Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
and Saturdays. I don't know what you guys what you're gonna be doing, but I'm gonna be going to the farmer's market. I love it.
Yeah, first week,
Huh?
first weekend.
When it opens?
It's the first weekend and it opens this weekend.
Oh, that's right. It's.
Oh, man, I
Nice.
love
Oh,
farmer's
okay.
market.
I've been going to the one at the Shell station, it's smaller, it's not as crowded.
Oh, yeah, I go there. They have
Yeah.
live music and stuff.
Well, normally, because Christine will be there, she's fun to talk to. She's
Do-
awesome.
Do we need to remind them? Probably not, but do we need to remind them that whatever they put in the comments may be public or can be public?
They should know that.
I mean, you could say that this survey will be shared publicly with the salary commission.
Yeah, let's do that.
It'll be in a packet.
Right,
Right.
And we share everything we see publicly.
Right.
Is that what that means?
Well, I don't think there's anything in there that's like,
No,
no.
unless they
I mean,
add
the
something
results
in the
show-
comments.
So if we do it anonymously, then they don't put the name on there, so then the results don't tie anything directly to a person, other than the president and the deputy.
Yeah.
So let me ask about that, because my recollection from the 2015 one was their names were on there.
Last time,
I
Yeah.
don't,
I may be wrong about that, but I thought I saw that.
there's nothing sensitive either way, so I don't think we have to worry about that. It's just part of the body of work that gets published when we're done.
Okay.
I don't see a problem. Yeah, if they're doing something embarrassing, then they shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
so have you experienced?
you're so right.
Well, to state the obvious, which I
Somebody
don't
would know that, I mean, that's, they deal with.
Yeah.
public
Maybe
comment
as part
all
of
the
the
time.
non-reimbursable expenses, who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
It just comes with it, and that's the way it is, and they accept it, that's fine too, so anyway.
Mhm.
Salary.
Okay, so then, yeah, so we're gonna do some testing. We'll put together an email by the end of the week with a link to the council to have at it, and say we'd like to have these back by midday Monday.
And I see that you are now an editor of the form, so you can actually see the responses and everything.
Yeah, I mean, you could say noon, and that way we know who, if somebody didn't complete it, we could try to track them down. I mean, the intent is you wanna look at the data on the 9th, and if you have incomplete data, it's not gonna be helpful.
Right.
So do you wanna ask for the 7th, and they have a day of reminder on the 8th?
No, I think that we can tell them on the 8th at noon, and we have 24 hours until the 9th at noon to get them to give us data. Worst case scenario,
Yeah,
one
before.
piece of data we get right before the meeting.
And let's tell them that the commission will be reviewing the data on our meeting on
The 9th.
the 9th, yeah.
Yeah, as long as they know that, but, you know, even if we're just looking at the live report, it just came in, that's good enough for discussion.
So you.
We have their phone numbers, we can call
I do. She has everybody's number or else. Actually, they're all.
It's on the
published.
website.
Their cell
Yeah.
phones are published. so.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Okay, so then the equity questions, we talked about that, those will be pushed to that meeting on the 16th. So survey review. And next week, and then after the equity discussion, there's the comparable cities data review. And then May 30th has been canceled because it's the day after the holiday, so. it's-
John, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That works out for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Should we put in the agenda also for next week, some discussion about how to approach the past council members? Because we raised that today, but didn't finish that discussion.
It sounds like we're not even gonna have time then on this. We're expecting to have this all by next week, right?
But I think it would be a different survey, different information anyhow.
Let's take a look at the data we get here, and then maybe on the 9th or the meeting after that, we can make a call like, oh, let's shorten the survey. Let's find the, because maybe that would be a good piece of data, which council members can we reach out to? Can we get a list and say,
commissioners.
of previous,
This.
or as commissioners
Yeah.
and board members, yeah.
Right.
So almost to interview them, can we summon them to come to our meeting?
No,
No,
I'm just kidding. So you want to survey the previous commissioners in 2015?
No, I think you're asking to.
no, the current board members and commissioners for all the commissions, right? To get the color is what we're talking about, right?
is it past council members or is it just?
Well, I thought we were talking about asking past council members why they ran and why they chose not to run again.
Oh.
Oh,
All right, I was thinking of two different things, but maybe we can we can do both. And we can decide that on the 9th. Well, we would.
Yeah,
meet
I
with
just
the-
wanted to make sure it was on the agenda, that we didn't drop that ball.
Yeah, definitely. So
Interesting, yeah.
which previous council members would be available, that like a list of what we can reach out to? And, a list of all the,
I mean, you're talking Raya.
Who's still here in town kind of question, but most of them, I think.
Mhm.
right. Okay.
So, I mean, I think that would be interesting, but maybe not crucial, right?
Yeah.
To get, because,
It's kind of a
I mean,
nice,
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's more how much of that actually is gonna drive any of this, like how we're gonna go from a sale, is it gonna be $500 more, $4,000 more? Like at the end of the day, right, this is not going to be the
right,
as crucial for
and
decision
also
making.
the evolution of the job.
Yeah,
So,
the city
you go
too.
back 2 or 3 councils, the city was different.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why that,
So,
We were out there for research.
let's take a look at the data we get from this survey, and then on the 9th, we say, oh, we need more, let's do the previous council.
I'm not voting one way or the other, I just want to make sure we discuss it.
Cool.
yeah, so I got other questions, we still open, like, do we ask them, do they have a full-time job?
Mhm.
Or do you have to adjust your job schedule to fit the council
Right.
responsibilities?
Oh, we didn't add those.
Yeah, so do we want to add those?
I
We
think
can always stick them in next week. I'll just leave it on here to address next week.
Okay.
And then the other question, open questions we have is sharing with other city councils. Either the motivation or the hours, maybe the costs, maybe not. And then,
Mhm.
the question we just talked about. Past council members, do we bother? So those are there we'll talk about them next week.
We don't wanna ask the, full-time job questions in this survey for the current council member?
I think we could add them.
Mhm. Feels like we should.
On the
Got 'em.
tell us more section, maybe?
So,
I thought someone said we have that information already. Do we
Well,
not?
But we know if they have a full-time job or not. We don't know if they have changed their commitment to that job to fit this in.
yeah, the second question is one we should probably stick in there.
Yeah,
is,
like,
do you have to
how-
adjust your job schedule to fit council responsibilities?
Right. And
That's
did
good.
that. And
Put that in that section that you just said.
In the tell us more section,
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
One's retired.
did,
Yeah, then you could just say, no, I'm retired. I don't care.
if you hold a full-time position or something,
Or even if it's not full-time, right? Like maybe that's
Right.
just a
If you have
question,
another
like have you,
job.
Job- you just say job
has,
schedule. So if it affects your other income, whatever that is.
yeah, has it impacted your availability to do your work,
Well,
your other
The
job?
answer is invariably yes, like, you know.
Back
if
to
you're
this.
working, you have to leave early.
Yeah.
To get together.
have you had to make
accommodations.
accommodations in your
No.
personal or professional, well,
Personal, no,
of course,
just
but in your professional
and maybe
life
not even
to-
just accommodation, right? Because they obviously had, but just more to like, has it like truly
change.
impacted your ability, has it adversely impacted your ability to, well, adversely maybe to.
How has the council position, how has your current council position impacted your personal life? Personal or
No.
professional?
That's a deep question. I
No,
don't think
no,
it's
no,
pretty
yeah.
good. I think it's more about.
About schedule
We
with
don't wanna
hours
know
of
about
work.
divorces or anything.
Yeah,
Affecting your job schedule.
Yeah,
That's
it
just pretty much.
Has your position in the city council impacted
Made it
your
difficult.
work schedule?
Mhm.
Made it
Yeah.
difficult even, just like get more specific, has it made it difficult to?
Or made it more difficult. So
Has it
what
made
you
it more
have plus
difficult?
A comma, or made it more difficult.
There you go.
So impacted your work schedule, comma, or made it more difficult?
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
a
but-
long answer text.
Isn't the answer always gonna be yes to made it more difficult? Would anybody say no to that?
Well, some are retired, some are, working.
Yeah.
Super
Right.
flexible and it's not a big deal. I mean,
Some people, describe difficult.
My first couple of years, I was a consultant that had super flexibility with my clients, and the last 2 years, I had less, and it got really tight at the end. So it just kind of depends, you know, on what you're doing. You know, I think Joe is an attorney, so he can set his, when he's gonna go to court and not and do that stuff. Different jobs have different requirements.
Yeah,
So that's a good question to put in there.
all right,
That's part of,
it's in there now.
part of the hassle factor. Okay, well, we're way over time.
Yeah,
Boy, do we have fun with this. So,
I propose that we call the meeting to a close.
yeah,
Second,
all right. We need to close,
thanks everyone,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
and
Thank
thank
you.
you for
Everyone,
showing and
we
helping us out.
leave
through all
this
this.
with you.
Much appreciated.
See you next week.
All right, yep.
See you guys